The Galactic Council chamber was a massive, circular hall that floated at the heart of Orbitus Prime. It was made of dark metal and glowing glass, suspended in a slow spin above a dying star. Every seat was filled, 12 species, 12 voices, 12 votes. The air was cold, still, heavy with tension. Commander William Voss stood alone at the center platform. The human delegation sat behind him, silent and watchful. Voss wore a black uniform with a silver emblem of Earth, a quiet symbol of pride. His voice was steady, his posture straight. He had been a soldier, a captain, and now a diplomat. But today, he stood as something more. "Our home," he began, "has suffered a solar storm unlike any before. Crops are dead, power systems failing. Millions face darkness, cold, hunger. We request emergency aid, energy cells, food rations, and atmospheric filters." The council chamber remained still. Alien faces flickered in dim light, some unreadable, others clearly bored. Voss continued, his tone calm but firm. "Humanity has contributed to this council for 20 years. Our technology supports your ships. Our patrol fleets guard shared borders. We are not asking for charity. We are asking for solidarity." High Chancellor Viral, the leader of the council, leaned forward. He was tall, with pale, scale-like skin and 4 black eyes that blinked slowly. His voice hissed with disdain. "Commander Voss," Viral said, "your people are always in crisis. Always dramatic. Always desperate. Perhaps this is the nature of your species." A few delegates chuckled quietly. Voss didn't move. "We are not emotional," Voss replied. "We are exhausted. You sit in a tower of light and vote on who gets to survive. But Earth is not a toy, not a problem you can ignore." Another delegate, a bird-like creature from the Valerie system, raised a wing. "Your request is noted, but many worlds suffer. If we give to you, others will expect the same." Voss nodded once. "Then give to all. Or admit this council is only for the favored few." Silence fell. Then Viral stood. "Let the vote proceed." A glowing panel appeared before each delegate. One by one, they pressed their votes. Only 2 supported Earth's request. The rest denied it. "Request denied," Viral said coldly. "The matter is closed." Voss remained silent. He looked at each delegate, one by one. Not with anger, but with something colder. Understanding. He turned slowly to his team and gave a single nod. Chairs slid back. Boots echoed. The entire human delegation stood and walked out in silence. No shouting. No threats. No last words. Just silence. In the chamber, confusion rippled. A few laughed. Others looked uncertain. Viral narrowed his eyes, but said nothing. Outside, the humans stepped into their ship. Doors sealed. Lights dimmed. Within minutes, human satellites, defense systems, and comm links across council space began to shut down. No warning. No delay. The silence they left behind would soon become noise the galaxy couldn't ignore. The corridors of Orbitus Prime were built for diplomacy, quiet, clean, and wide enough to fit beings twice the size of a man. Yet now they echoed with firm, human footsteps. Commander William Voss led the line of delegates without looking back. No one spoke. No one needed to. Behind them, the great doors of the council chamber slid shut with a hiss. The soft thud echoed like a final decision. Inside the chamber, silence remained, but it was no longer comfortable. The other delegates exchanged confused glances. A few shifted in their seats. No one had expected the humans to actually leave. On their starship docked at the edge of the station, Voss moved with precision. His aides activated the shutdown codes. One by one, human systems began to power down across the galaxy. Within minutes, the signs appeared. In the outer systems, hundreds of navigation beacons, designed and maintained by Earth, turned off. Their lights dimmed, their signals vanished. Trade ships were routed. Some went dark. Others collided with asteroid fields they couldn't see coming. Defense grids powered by human systems flickered and died. Border patrols vanished. Piracy, once suppressed by human fleets, stirred like a beast waking from sleep. In medical hubs across council space, hospitals waited for regular shipments of Earth-made plasma stabilizers. They waited in vain. The ships had been grounded. Deliveries canceled. Human trade lanes sealed. Inside the council hall, alarms began to ring, not loud, but steady and sharp. A security aide rushed to High Chancellor Viral's side. "Chancellor," the aide said, voice tight, "we're receiving multiple reports. Human tech is going offline. Supply chains are disrupted. Civilian routes are being impacted." Viral waved a hand. "They're bluffing. They'll be back." They always come back. But he sounded less certain than usual. At the edge of the station, the human diplomatic vessel Horizon Dawn prepared for departure. Voss stood at the command window, watching the stars drift beyond the glass. His second-in-command, Captain Leanne Mercer, approached. She had served with him during the Martian border conflicts, loyal, sharp, unshaken. "Orders, sir?" she asked. "Shut it down," Voss said. "Everything. Defense networks. Trade hubs. Navigation relays. Let them feel what we built." Mercer nodded once and relayed the command. Voss didn't move. His eyes stayed on the Council station, slowly shrinking behind them. For 20 years, humans had worked to prove themselves. They had built the gates, maintained the routes, patrolled the neutral zones. But they were never given a seat of power. Always expected to serve. Always kept quiet. Until now. The Horizon Dawn entered warp space and vanished into the void, carrying the full strength of human diplomacy away from the Council. Back in the Council chamber, a Valerie delegate raised her feathered crest. "We must speak with them," she said quietly. "This will cause damage across the trade ring." Viral turned toward her, his voice sharp. "We do not bend to threats." Another delegate, from the Otherian systems, spoke up. "This wasn't a threat. It was a decision, one we may regret." The chamber fell silent again, but this time, no one was laughing. Across the galaxy, lights flickered and systems failed. A quiet reminder spread across the stars. The humans were gone, and they had taken their power with them. The galaxy began to feel the absence of humanity not with a scream, but with a quiet unraveling. At first, it was small. A freighter near the Yella 3 system missed its arrival window. It drifted off course without human-built beacons to guide it through the asteroid belt. The ship tried to correct manually, but struck debris. 5 lives lost. No escort ships responded. There were none. In the trade corridor between the Kreelan and Dova sectors, hundreds of cargo transports moved supplies daily: fuel, medicine, water, food. Their routes were drawn by Earth's quantum mapping systems, simple and reliable. But now, the maps glitched. Some ships looped endlessly. Others shut down engines, waiting for answers that never came. One by one, systems began to stall. On the ice world of Varnex 9, hospitals reported failing deliveries. Earth's plasma stabilizers were the only medicine compatible with certain alien biology. Without them, surgeries were postponed. Some patients didn't survive the wait. A merchant colony near the neutral zone sent out a distress call. Pirates had returned, fast, organized, and fearless. The human fleets that once patrolled the Outer Rim were gone. The Council hadn't replaced them. They had always relied on Earth's presence, whether they admitted it or not. Inside the Council chamber, reports flooded in. A tall, silver-skinned ambassador from the Ekran Empire stood in the center of the room. 4 of our deep space miners are stranded. Human drones ran those drills. We don't have the systems to recover them. A reptilian delegate hissed, frustrated. Why did we rely on them so heavily? No one answered. The silence said enough. High Chancellor Viral sat still, for black eyes fixed on the floating report displays around him. Dozens of systems malfunctioning. Hundreds of requests unanswered. Planetary leaders sent demands. Civil unrest was spreading. He tapped a clawed finger against the armrest of his chair, jaw tight. They will return. Humans need us more than we need them. But his words had lost their weight. Even his supporters could hear it. In a command room deep beneath Earth's surface, Commander William Voss stood before a wall of screens. Each display showed a different sector. He watched as signals blinked out, places that once flowed with trade and order now descending into confusion. Captain Leanne Mercer joined him. "Council systems are down by 27%, she said. "Piracy is climbing. Non-human ships are starting to ask for access to our trade routes directly." Voss nodded slowly. "Let them ask. We'll listen. But not as servants. Not as a forgotten voice at a long table." Mercer hesitated. "You think Viral will fold?" "He won't," Voss replied. "Not yet. He'll double down. But the Council isn't just Viral. There are others, some who are already questioning him. We don't need to fight them. We just need to wait." Outside the command room, Earth's skies were stormy but calm. The planet's recovery had begun, with its people working together, drawing from old reserves and strong will. Earth wouldn't break. Not again. Meanwhile, the rest of the galaxy slowly realized what had happened. They hadn't just lost human help. They had lost balance. They had lost control. And now, for the first time, they understood something Voss had known all along. The Council needed humanity far more than humanity needed the Council. Far from the chaos unraveling in Council space, Earth was steady. Damaged, yes, but recovering. Deep beneath the surface of the North American continent, inside Earth Command's main facility, operations buzzed quietly. Engineers calibrated satellites. Medics organized relief drops. Defense crews ran patrols around fragile outer colonies. The rest of the galaxy was unraveling, but Earth had never been more focused. Commander William Voss stood in the operations center, watching progress unfold on the large wall display. Blue lines showed restored power grids across Earth's major cities. Green markers showed ships returning from quiet aid missions, places the Council had overlooked for decades. Captain Leon Mercer stepped beside him, holding a report pad. 6 colonies restabilized, she said. Energy distributions back to 90%. Food reserves holding. No serious unrest. Voss gave a small nod. And Council chatter? Loud, Mercer replied. They're arguing, blaming each other. Some are calling for revotes on Earth's aid request. Others want to force our systems back online. They won't, Voss said calmly. They don't know how. Earth's technology had grown fast in the last 40 years. The Council had accepted human systems because they were cheap, fast, and easy to integrate. But they had never fully understood how it worked. They had never cared to learn. Any word from Viral? Voss asked. Not directly, Mercer said. But some of the delegates are sending quiet messages. Not all of them agree with how this is going. Voss folded his arms. That's how it starts. 1 voice. Then 3. Then a vote. Out in the galaxy, planets and colonies that had once ignored Earth now sent private requests for help. A Valerie science station, abandoned after the Council cut its funding, had reached out to Earth Command. Its orbit was decaying. Voss sent a small human crew and a tug ship. They didn't broadcast it. No speech. No flag. Just action. Another request came from the Goran mining outpost. A sudden gas leak. Council teams were too slow to respond. Human engineers arrived in 6 hours and sealed the leak. Earth didn't brag. Didn't gloat. It moved in silence. And in that silence, respect grew. Back in the Council chamber, High Chancellor Viral paced alone in his office. The walls displayed flashing alerts from across the sector, trade failures, medical shortages, missing ships. A storm was growing. And for the first time, Viral wasn't sure he could contain it. An urgent alert blinked. He tapped it. A message appeared from the Androsian representative, one of his old allies. Chancellor, this situation cannot continue. My people are losing faith. Either you speak with Earth, or I will lead a vote to replace you. Viral bared his teeth, a silent hiss of frustration. He had underestimated them, humans, with their soft voices and stubborn pride. He thought they would come crawling back. Instead, they had risen higher. He closed the message and stared at the empty center of the Council chamber, where Voss once stood. On Earth, Voss met with his advisors in a simple room, no decoration, no ceremony. Just a table, screens, and quiet determination. The Council's structure is breaking, said Advisor Okeke, a veteran of early diplomatic missions. If they call us back, what's the play? Voss answered without hesitation. We don't return to listen. We return to lead. No more silence. No more waiting for respect. If they want peace and stability, they meet us on equal ground. Silence followed, and then nods of agreement. For the first time, Earth stood not as a voice on the edge of power, but as a force others now depended on. No war had been fought. No weapons fired. Yet humanity had shaken the galaxy with silence, with discipline, with strength. Orbitus Prime was no longer quiet. Inside the Galactic Council's main chamber, voices clashed across the great dome like waves against steel. Delegates shouted, argued, accused. The calm order that had ruled for centuries was gone. Panic had replaced pride. High Chancellor Viral stood at the central podium, his clawed hands gripping the edge. His 4 eyes scanned the crowd, his voice trying to rise above the noise. Order, he shouted. We will not solve this by turning on each other. But no one was listening. The Androsian ambassador slammed a metallic hand onto his table. Your refusal to act has cost us 2 colonies, Chancellor. Pirates raided our outer rim yesterday. We requested Council support. None came. The Valerie delegate's feathers flared in agitation. My station still lacks medical aid. That used to come from Earth weekly. You voted against helping them. Now you've doomed us all. Others followed. Complaints. Losses. Failures. Words that used to be whispered in private now spilled into public. Viral tried to maintain control. Earth defied this council. They walked out. If we give in to that behavior, They walked out because we failed them, the Goran representative interrupted, his voice gravelly and low. And now we're the ones paying for it. A brief silence followed. Then, the Tharn diplomat, a creature of stone and logic, stood slowly. I move that we hold an emergency vote. The council must formally request the return of the human delegation. Murmurs rippled across the room. It was unthinkable until now. Viral tried to speak, but his voice didn't carry the same weight anymore. The room moved without him. The vote was swift. 10 out of 12 agreed. Send a message. Bring the humans back. For the first time in his long rule, Viral didn't speak at the end of the vote. He just sat down, silent, his eyes fixed on the dark space beyond the station. Far across the stars, Earth Command received the transmission. Commander William Voss stood before the large holoscreen, arms behind his back, as the message played. To the delegation of Earth. The Galactic Council formally requests your return to Orbitus Prime. A special session will be held to discuss new terms and responsibilities. We are prepared to listen. The room around Voss was quiet. His advisors watched him, waiting for his response. Captain Mercer raised an eyebrow. They're finally asking. They're desperate, said Advisor Okeke. But desperation leads to deals. Voss stared at the words. They had expected something like this, but not so soon. He turned to face his team. We go back. Not as guests. Not as background noise. We go back with our heads high, with our demands ready. Mercer nodded. Do we let them set the terms? No, Voss said. We set them now. The next day, a human diplomatic cruiser left Earth's orbit. Sleek, dark, and silent, it moved through the stars with purpose. Inside, the delegation prepared, calm, focused, united. They weren't returning to ask. They were returning to reshape the balance of power. And this time, the council would listen. The Galactic Council chamber looked the same. The towering ceiling, the glowing floor panels, the tall thrones of the 12 species, it was all still there. But something had changed. The silence that filled the room was not routine. It was tight, cautious, heavy with expectation. All eyes turned as the doors opened. Commander William Voss stepped inside, flanked by his delegation. They wore formal Earth uniforms, simple black with silver trim, no excess, no decoration. Their footsteps were firm, steady, unapologetic. The human flag patch on their shoulders caught the low blue light of the chamber. No one spoke as they crossed the floor. High Chancellor Viral sat in his chair at the head of the council circle. He watched Voss approach, his expression unreadable. The arrogance once etched into his face had faded. What remained was something closer to calculation and concern. Voss stopped at the center of the chamber, where once he had stood to plead for Earth's aid. Now he stood taller, straighter, not to ask, but to lead. Viral cleared his throat. Commander Voss, we appreciate your return. Voss nodded once. We are here because you asked, not because we were waiting. No one objected. No one laughed. Even Viral didn't respond. The silence stretched for a moment. Then the Androsian ambassador spoke. We've reviewed your contributions. We felt the impact of your absence. It's clear that humanity is more important to the council than we admitted. Voss looked around the chamber. We have been loyal. We built systems that helped every species, patrolled borders that weren't ours, gave freely and waited patiently. That time is over. A few delegates shifted uncomfortably. Others listened carefully. Voss continued, his voice calm and firm. If humanity is to return to this council, it will not be as a subordinate. We demand full voting rights, equal standing, control over the systems we created, and an emergency aid agreement for any member world, including Earth. Viral opened his mouth, but Voss raised a hand slightly. This is not a negotiation. This is our offer. Take it, and you gain stability. Refuse, and we walk away for good. Viral's mouth closed. Across the chamber, murmurs began to rise. The Valerie delegate, once indifferent, now nodded. The Goran representative leaned forward and spoke. I support these terms. They are not demands. They are corrections. One by one, the other delegates gave quiet, firm support. Only Viral remained silent. Finally, he stood. Slowly. His voice was quieter now, but clear. I underestimated you, he said. I underestimated humanity. That was my failure. He looked directly at Voss. Let it be known that the council accepts the proposal. Earth will have a full seat, a voice, a vote, and its systems will remain under its own command. Voss nodded once. Then we stay. A quiet ripple moved through the room, not noise, not celebration, but relief, calm, respect. For the first time in decades, the council was whole again, but this time on new terms. Later that evening, Voss stood alone at the edge of a high observation deck. The station orbited slowly over the dying star, casting pale gold light through the glass. Below, Earth's blue and white shimmer could be seen in the far distance. Captain Mercer joined him quietly. "They didn't just agree to your terms," she said. "They accepted the truth." Voss nodded. "Because they didn't have a choice." He looked out at the stars, hands clasped behind his back. "We didn't want to lead," he said. "But someone had to show them what unity actually costs." Mercer smiled slightly. "So, what now?" Voss exhaled slowly. "Now we do what we always do. We build. We protect. We keep the peace. But this time, we're not just keeping it for them. We're keeping it for ourselves." The stars outside burned quietly. The galaxy was still broken in places, but healing. And this time, the humans were no longer shadows in the back of the room. They were at the table. The chamber was empty now. The votes had been cast. The terms were agreed. The human delegation had returned to their quarters on Orbitus Prime with the Council's formal recognition in hand. No celebration followed. No parades or grand speeches. That wasn't William Voss's way. Victory, for him, didn't need noise. He stood alone on the station's outer observation deck, the curved glass stretching above him like a shield. The stars drifted slowly, silent and endless. Beyond them, Earth glowed as a tiny blue dot, calm, distant, safe. His reflection stared back at him from the glass. A soldier once. A diplomat now. But more than anything, a man who had grown tired of asking for permission to matter. Behind him, the soft hiss of a door opened. Captain Leon Mercer stepped in, holding a small tablet. Final confirmation just came through. All council systems are restoring under shared control. Human networks stay independent. Aid to Earth begins immediately. Voss nodded without turning. "And the defense agreement?" "Passed," she said. "Human patrols get full jurisdiction in the outer corridors. Joint missions optional, not required. Total sovereignty." He let the silence hang a moment. Then he said, "That's the first time the Council has ever accepted limits on their reach." Mercer stepped beside him. "They didn't have a choice." Voss glanced at her. "No, but we gave them a way to save face. We let them choose dignity instead of collapse. That matters." She smiled faintly. "You think they'll keep their word?" "Some will. Others will learn to." He looked back out at the stars. "And if they don't, we'll remind them. Like we did now. Not with war. Not with threats. Just with absence." She was quiet for a long moment. "You never wanted this," she said softly. "Power. Control. Leading." Voss shook his head. "I didn't want respect handed to us. I wanted it earned. And defended. That's what this was about." They stood there, two figures in the vast dark, as silent ships glided past the stars. All across the galaxy, Council systems hummed back to life. Trade lanes opened. Medical shipments resumed. Colonies reported stability. But everywhere, there was a quiet change in the way people spoke about Earth. Not as a junior partner. Not as a reckless newcomer. But as an equal. Later that night, in his private quarters, Voss sat down to write a report. Not to the Council. Not to his superiors. But to the people of Earth. His words were simple. "We left because we were ignored. We returned because we were needed. We stayed because we were respected. From this day forward, Earth no longer stands at the edge of the galaxy. We stand at the center together." He saved the message. Then he stood and looked once more at the stars. The galaxy hadn't changed overnight, but it had shifted, and humanity had taken its place not through force, not through fear, but through something harder. Patience, purpose, and unity. The fight for respect was over. The story of silence had become the story of strength.